Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace, and I'm here to fight CPS and keep your children, or save your children. Yes, CPS, the Child Protection System, is a branch of social services um, authorized by Congress to protect our children from neglect and abuse and do family reunification. That means if they break the family apart, they're supposed to repair the family because the biological parents are the best parents ever for children. In some studies proven time and time again, the biological parents are the best. So the child protection system, they break your family apart, should put it back together through unification. Problem being is that we have an agency that's gone rogue. They don't care, they don't follow their own directives, they don't care about your constitution or civil rights, and they end up taking your children, whether they're in immediate danger or not. And they are terrible. They're not transparent. Um, you're dealing with an agency as such as Allison was in Wonderland. She fell in a rabbit hole, went to all these rooms. That's what CPS is. You're Allison in Wonderland. There's nothing that makes sense. Nothing that makes sense. Case over case. Welcome, Rosemarie Lombardo. Um, welcome this morning. I'll get back to you in a moment here. I'd like to go over how we interact in this room right now. One of the first ways of interacting with this podcast is to be in this room. Um, just participating. You can do emojis, you can do comments, or you can call in. But just being a participant is very important, and I'm very glad that you are here. So, with that being said, um, I'll go over how they interact with this podcast. Step one is being in the room. Step two is to actually text a comment. And when you text your comments, please show, I mean, please ask CPS questions. We're strictly talking about the child protection services. And we certainly don't want to have questions. I know there's a lot of politics going on, but it's only dealing with child protection system. And then please show your name, city, state, or country. And when I say by country, there's about 13 of them. We've been receiving, you know, texts from these countries. I'm open to anybody that wants help with CPS. And right now, we've had of the countries, we've had Bangladesh, and then going to the west, we've had New Delhi, India. Then going further west, we've had Africa, and we've had several of the countries within the continent of Africa. We've had the South Africa province that had text in, and then we have Mozambique, which is above South Africa on the east side across from Madagascar. And then in Central Africa, in um, the Middle East part, is a place called Rwanda next to Lake Victoria. It's a big lake in Africa, Lake Victoria. Well, Rwanda was a country that went through a very horrible time in 1994 where a million people were wiped out and 400,000 women were raped. And it was an awful time. But they've now rejuvenate their country, and the person that called in was nice to say that things are looking better. Um, Going up into Europe, we've had United Kingdom, England, Scotland, Wales text in. We've had Sweden and Denmark, and that was unusual because you would think everything was fine in Sweden and Denmark with the way they do their system and everything, but they have problems there too. And across the pond, we have the North America. We have Canada with both coasts that have text in, and then we have all the 50 states have text in, including Washington D.C. And uh, that's been good. I mean, the words gotten out. And then on the south of border of Mexico, the gentleman actually called looking for his girls in Louisiana. He called on the show. And then we have, um, after Mexico, we go across the Pacific and the land down under, and we've had Australia text in. So it's been very interesting what they've had to say. Now, when you're talking about your CPS case, whether you call in or text in, you want to be complete with your case, and where it best is not only to say the city, state, or country you're from, but also the makeup of your family. What is your family makeup? Are you a husband, wife? Are you a partnership, girlfriend, boyfriend, partners? Are both parents involved with the children, or is only one parent, a single parent household? Are there different spouses, fathers and mothers for the children, all the same, all together? And also, if the spouses are involved, sometimes as a single parent, they're not involved. And then after that, um, what the allegations were. What were the allegations? Were they abuse or neglect or both? Or and the details of the allegations. And then how did they get your children? Did you give them up? Did they come in your home and take them? Did they? Uh, were they in extreme danger um, when if they were taken? And then after that, um, um, what is your status of your case? Are you at the beginning, the middle, the back, or what? And I'll try to help you out. I try to tell you to help you out. Now, a third way of interacting with this podcast is to be a guest on my show. And to be a guest on my show, all you have to do is contact our show producer, Grace. She's a wonderful lady that works hard behind the scenes and keeps my show going and helps me out. And she's also to help arrange your time on the show as a guest. All you have to do is email, and my show times are Monday through Sunday, twice a day, morning or afternoon. So if you want to be on my morning show on Sunday, you say morning show Sunday. Friday evening show, Wednesday morning show, Tuesday evening show. Anyway, there's 14 shows you can pick from. All you have to do is say that in your request, your email. Then the email address is grace@vincentwdavis.com. 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 And she will give you the link. I broadcast on YouTube but use the StreamYard application. And you found me on Facebook. And so she'll give you the link and then she'll tell you what you can do and not do on the show, like in eating or smoking. Also, um, you can't use the names and so forth. But that's a third way. And now the fourth way is to call in. And I put my phone number up. It's 626-658-0990. That's my office phone number. I can talk during the hours of my shows. My shows are on at 8 o'clock in the morning every day of the week except Sunday. It's on at 8 o'clock. And then my evening shows are on at 7 o'clock. And they're on 7 o'clock for 1 hour Pacific Standard Time. So it's really important that you uh, call during those times and I can answer. Otherwise, you'll get a message from me that says I can't take the call. All right, I've talked about how they interact. We've had Rosemary in the room, and she said three things. She said her next court date is August 14th. That's next week, and it's supposed to be a trial discharge. Okay, and then Rosemary further says that means let the child come home and monitor. I'm so happy to hear that news. That's good news. And home and keep an eye on things. Yes. Now, my question, Rosemary, what city and state you're in. I forgot what city and state you've been on before, but it would help me if you know your city and state. To the rest of my listeners, you don't have to say anything. I'm going to try and get a hold of some of my uh, roomies that are always on the show here and personally invite them because something the notification is delayed about 10 minutes on Facebook. So they may not get it. So I've invited Faye from Richmond, Kentucky, a single mom. I've invited Danielle Watt, a single mom from Georgia. And I'm inviting also um, Natalie. So I try to get some more people to come in the room. Natalie is from West Hollywood, California. We have Rose Marie, but I have no idea where she's from. I forgot. And I would like, that if you could tell me that, that'd be great. Um, I have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 rooms that are shared with the podcast, and they're listening in too. Um, this is a really bad agency. When I say that, let me give you an idea what these social workers are like. There was 8 social workers for CPS in Arizona. They call themselves DCS, Department of Children's Services. Anyway, this CPS system is very corrupt. Um, they're supposed to be really helpful. They don't seem to be helpful at all, and that's typical of the CPS, the Child Protection System. So these 8 social workers had worked for 25 years for the Child Protection System in Arizona, Prescott, Arizona, and they call their Child Protection System Department of Children's Services, DCS. So they had 25 years experience. They thought it'd be really amusing if they got pink T-shirts and stenciled on the front, they're professional child kidnappers, and on the back they put, "Do you know where your kids are?" And that really sent out a bad message to parents. They paraded in Costco and Walmart and Target, all the big stores, Best Buys, and they wore this double message, one on the front, one on the back, and it really made the parents upset because that's your typical social worker. That's your typical social worker. So they were fired when they were caught, and then also the director was fired, the guy responsible for their actions. That didn't do good for the protection of the children because now you have nobody there to protect you. You have one guy left. And it happened to be a guy, but he had to run the whole program himself. Rosemary further said, home and keep an eye on things. Yep, that's one thing. If you have your children at home, hopefully the monitor won't be so bad and you won't lose your kids. I hope it's not a temporary thing because CPS is notable for doing that. They're very notable for doing that. So that's an example of one type of social workers in the CPS system. It's very sad because is that what social workers are? Well, it seems like 99% of the social workers I talk to are like that. And there's only been two social workers I've talked on here. One was a social worker for the Maryland CPS, the Child Protection System, and she had a college degree in clinical psychology, and she had training 6 months supposedly in the Department of Maryland. So she was on the show 40 minutes. It was great to have her here, but she was appalled when I told her about the things that I witnessed in CPS. I told her about things at the agency. Anyway, it lasted 40 minutes. It was a good conversation, and hopefully she'll be back. Gives you another insight about social workers, but also gives me support of the idea that all that 99% of social workers are bad. It's only that 1%. And that is a very sad thing. My phone is live, just heard it ring. And um, I can tell you about another case of a social worker. This one only happened a month or two ago. And this social worker decided to run an ad on her Facebook page. And the ad basically said, "Black children for sale." Now, she run the original ad. It said the N word. I'm not allowed to use the N word on YouTube, but it used the N word. So that was 10 years before the Civil War and 140 years before, um, 140 years after the Civil War. So anyway, 1848. And why she picked this ad, I still don't know. She's also a black woman, black social worker. So why would she run an ad, um, black children for sale? That's really sums up the whole page. But that's what she had figured. Now, a third example of a social worker gone bad is there was an investigation by a mom here, and um, So you can wonder what goes through their mind of these social workers. It's really sad. It's really hard. And it affects me too because I've been involved in CPS for 15 years. In 2010, I lost my job through no fault of my own. And I started getting involved with CPS by false complaints by laymen. I didn't know who the laymen were at first. I found out later, but they're my in-laws or my wife's family, mother, the father, the sister, the brothers. All called in weekly about things that weren't true. They were trying to supposedly bust it so the kids could come to them. They wanted the kids. They weren't involved in our wedding. They didn't want to come to our wedding. I've been married for 31 years, and then um, so I had to deal with that for 5 years, and then they tricked me. They tricked me. They had a detective follow me one day when I was picking up one of my children from school, and forced me to come home to my home, and said that. And I tried to tell him why. What did I do? And he wouldn't say anything. And so they didn't have anything on me then. But when they came for that visit, they were able to find something. And what it was is recently my parents had died. My mom was hanging in there, but dad was dead, and we wanted to sell the belongings, not sell the belongings, but pass on the belongings to relatives and family and friends. And so I brought all their stuff down from their home that they got rid of and got the stuff out there. And they had quite a lot of stuff. I mean, 55 years is a long time with mementos. And um, so it is a hard decision to make. But I did get an attorney at first. That's another mistake I did. I have four rules that kind of correct the mistakes I made. But the attorney I got was Vincent W. Davis. I get him right at first, and I tried to use what's called the court-appointed attorney. And the court-appointed attorney was a hopeless case. It really was. It was a hopeless case. Um, you know, they are free to you, but they're poor. They're paid very, very low pay, and then they have very little experience. They don't have much experience in dependency law, juvenile family dependency law, and they're not going to fight for your case. They're going to look for the easy way out because they have a client list of 30 people one time or more that they're trying to handle. So they're trying to juggle. They don't have time to meet with you on the outside. And also, when you have an attorney, you can't talk to the judge at the court. That's the downside of using an attorney. You're prohibited from talking or approaching the bench and talking to the attorney. You have to get rid of the attorney and do it either pro se, which means you do it on your own, or you hire a professional attorney. And I had to do that. But in order to do so, I had to come up with money for a retainer. And so I sold my house, sadly. I'd worked 40 years for it. It's a beautiful home. And had to sell my house to hire an attorney. And I have six children, three older, three youngers. And the three youngers were taken. They weren't in neglect. I mean, excuse me, they weren't in extreme danger, but they said they're neglect. And what it was is my parents' belongings, their furniture was stacked nicely, the boxes were stacked nicely, and I was sorting through each box, each furniture in my living room. And the rest of the house wasn't touched. The kitchen was still operational. They could have the food prepared professionally, and they had a family room, watch the TV, and then they had a dining area for the kitchen. The dining room itself was not touched either, and so um, that was available for them also. Um, so the upstairs bedrooms were clear too. There's nothing in their room that was very danger to them. But apparently CPS, and I was unaware that their only interest in kids is the money they get from processing them over into foster care. They do trafficking, which is illegal. They also do alienation, which is illegal, where they talk bad about the parents with the kids. They do some of the most awful things I've ever seen them do. It's so sad. It's so sad. Um, Christina Renoza, welcome. And I know you're from Mexico. We don't. I forgot where Rosemary. I think Rosemary Lombardo's from Arizona. Bob, I have a question. A blue heart has what you're saying been transcripted? No. I need to write it all down. Need to write it all down. I was just giving examples of two social workers. I'm going to give you my own social worker. She was a young girl, didn't have a college education, no experience in social work, young, and all she worried about was her Gucci purse that she got every week, her BMW car, her clothes, her accessories, her eyelashes. That's all she thought about is her bonuses that she get for keeping the children in foster care. She lied, and when she got on the witness stand, she did something worse. She lied again. And she was being questioned about the integrity of my wife's sister and husband who were interested in adopting my daughter. And that was a hard thing to take as parents because when you're in the CPS system, you don't see your kids in court. You can't tell them anything. Even on the visits, you're restricted to talk about the case. So the kids don't know what's going on. They only fed the information that CPS will give them, and it's all false stuff. There's nothing encouraging, nothing about family reunification. They want the children to be adopted. That's what their goal is. They want the children to be adopted. They're just thieves. They're disgusting individuals, and I have no sympathy for them. Right now in Kentucky, December and October, there's a trial of a social worker that took away the children of Faye, one of our people here in the room, coming up, and she just came in. I was thinking about Faye. Thank you, Faye, for coming in. And I hope you're having a blessed day too, Faye. We have Christina in the room and Rosemarie Lombardo, who's getting her kids back. But Faye, the social worker that did crimes against Faye and made her choice between her daughter and son, is on trial for domestic violence on 3 counts. And she told me that she hasn't lost her job. She just got a paid administration with off, so she's not suffering. And she didn't have to pay bond to get out of jail when she was arrested. And there's all this favoritism to social workers in Richmond, Kentucky. And I was just talking about, Faye, that the cases that you're talking about, and your social worker comes up, and Faye's going to be there to see how they treat social workers differently. It really is bad. So, um, as Faye said, good day, everybody. Hope you're having a blessed day. Christina says, thank you, Faye. And then Faye says, you're welcome. I'm only reading that because I don't know if you guys ever see the comments. So we're talking about my daughter and the social worker lying on the stand. And when the attorney I had, Vincent Davis, asked the domestic worker, what am I saying? The social worker for child protection in California is called the Child Protection Services. If there was any domestic violence, and she said no. She said they're great parents. Well, Vincent already had the police reports of numerous times of domestic violence at their household. Numerous times. and she lied, and so she lost her case to get my daughter adopted, but she did something worse. She says to us parents, "You're never going to see your daughter again." And what she did is she told her 12-year-old daughter to divorce us parents, the brothers, the cousins, the aunts, the uncles, the grandparents, emancipate from us and change your name, which she did, and seal her birth certificate, which she did. And then on top of that, she ended up going to have her adopted to foster care. And that was all done by the social worker who had no qualms about doing it. A 23-year-old social worker had the power to eliminate our daughter that we gave birth, that we raised for 12 years, that we fed, took care of, and nurtured, all because the system is corrupt. It is so corrupt. I mean, Faye every day tells me new stories every day about how corrupt the system is, how corrupt the police are. And that's in, Richmond, Kentucky. That's not in my backyard in California. But it is corrupt in California. What the police did to me was unheard of. He falsified things and, they go around your home. I didn't know you're not allowed to come in the home and stuff. So I'm saying that it's very important that you know what social workers can do and not do and what you as parents can protect yourself from. It's very, very important. And that was a third case of a social worker. So you see what social workers are like. If that doesn't make your stomach upset, then listen about this one. There's his daughter that was being investigated by the CPS investigator, the Child Protection System. And his daughter was at school. And so the CPS investigator asked the school, it's all right, he could talk to the daughter. Now, the school should have called the parent and have the parent come down while they're doing this talking, but they didn't. Also, the school should not have let them talk to the daughter. It's against the law. And on top of that, what this investigator was, he is a pedophile. He asked the girl who was alone with him to take off her shirt and proceeded to take pictures of a 13-year-old girl. Think about the traumatic effect it did on a 13-year-old girl. Now, when she came home, she told her mother. And you know what the mother did? She did good. She called the child protection and said, "Why did your investigator take pictures?" He was immediately fired because he is a pedophile. And it seems like CPS is loaded with pedophiles because they have access to women and they shouldn't have. It's sad how that happened because the traumatic effect of a 13-year-old exposing her nakedness to a stranger is unheard of. That's wrong. When do guys or girls grow up thinking it's okay to do wrong things? Well, he was fired. That's great. Got rid of him, but didn't the schools did nothing. The school didn't apologize. The school did nothing. The school did nothing. Didn't apologize. I'm sorry for the background noise. I can't. My problem is where I do my podcast. I can't do it in my own neighborhood, in my own home, because my car. Even though I paid the registration fees and done all the necessary repairs, it's still one thing that's still showing up on the smog reports. I mean, I live in a very controlled society here in Southern California. I tell you, it's really, if you guys, this is ridiculous, but they give me tickets. They're like start out at $84 and they double, they triple. Or if they want to, they tow the car because my sticker isn't displayed. Even though I have my paperwork that shows I paid, I put it in the windshield, and I even have an operating permit, a one-day operating permit. That doesn't seem to stop them. And I have to go through the hassle. I spend a lot of my time with hassles. And it's hard. It's hard. Social service is one of the hardest agencies. I today was dealing with Medi-Cal, and they now have it changed that They say now that I have to pay $2,000 first every month before they'll do any medical treatment for free. Now, that's $24,000 a year. Where does it cost? I mean, even people with company work, their share of costs isn't $2,000 a month. That's unheard of. I'm on Social Security, and I have a good health plan that's paid by them, but they take it out of my salary every month. They take it out of my Social Security. So I'm telling you, no matter if you're dealing with the children or trying to get help, it's like today I was telling them, I'm not from south of the border. I did not come in here. I speak the English language. I'm college educated with a degree. I have a teaching credential. Why are you treating us so bad? Why? She went to a supervisor, called me back, which is a remarkable thing. Usually they hang up on you. But I'm telling you, when you deal with CPS or any part of social services, it's terrible. They're supposed to help you if you meet the needs for food or clothing or medical or stuff like that. Why is it everybody that comes across the south of the border gets all that and we don't? We don't. I don't understand the whole thing on it. And I probably digressed a little bit, and I shouldn't have. But I'm like you guys. I have a low income right now. At one time, I was very nicely taken care of. I took care of my family. My goal is to take care of my family. Your goal is to take care of your family. I know that Faye has a special needs boy who's 23, and he's being railroaded all the time by the police. The police are hassling Faye in Richmond, Kentucky. They have nothing better to do in Kentucky than harass people. And she shared me some horrific stories. Christina has told me horrific stories too. I wish I knew what a blue heart means and a yellow heart means. Christina gave you a yellow heart, Faye. Gave me a blue heart. Um, and then Faye says you're welcome. That's great. That's great. You guys are good people here. And then I have I have one sad faces, Christine Renoza. I'm sorry to make you sad, Christina. Anyway, I know it's hard. I know it's hard. But these social workers has got to be stopped, and you got to know what to do. You may have to go to the federal level. There's one girl, Shannon, who I thought ICWA was I thought ICWA would be the source of help for her. See, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1988 was passed by Congress to have the CPS workers make sure that every case that they investigated, that they're not, um, that they could be turned over to an Indian tribe if they're registered. There's 548 federal registered tribe or federal recognized tribes, and if you're an Indian of one of those 548, you have to be registered or could be registered. CPS has to do that. Why? Because they automatically turn the children over to the reservation, and then the reservation will place the children with the Indian family and help do the reunification process. That's what the ICWA law is. But in Shannon's case in Oklahoma, which their reservation, Oklahoma, is 7,700 square miles of Cherokee Nation. And she's Cherokee, and her children are Cherokee, and she is registered. But the executive director is also the state attorney general of Oklahoma and has a conflict of interest. And so they're making her life miserable, saying that she has a lot of documents that could make the Cherokee Nation look bad. And they said, do not tell the news media, do not share it. And they said, your children are in danger. These threats have got to stop. You hear these threats all up and down. Congressmen, senators, representatives are supposed to represent us at Congress, but they don't. They lie. They're interest funds. There's only one person I know that doesn't want to take money, and that's Donald Trump. And I'm sorry to say something political, but he does not want a salary. He does not want money. He does everything pretty much on his own. But every senator you talk, even the, have a common interest. They have the candidate, new Democrat candidate coming aboard, and she has a lot of interest, special interest groups that are funding her. So, you have your people from the president all the way down to the director of child protection system, and that director is corrupt. The one I saw, I challenged him. I went to a lot of emails, had meetings with the director of child protection services of Orange County, California, and all I got was to see his Taj Mahal of his office building. His workers don't work there, but he does. But I don't know why he needs a 20-story building that's the state of the art, looks like something out of the future, like the Emerald City of the Wizard of Oz. And when I met him, he had so much gold around his neck, I thought he was going to fall over. I said, well, maybe I should get him some crutches so he can support himself. You're going to find corruption everywhere, but you got to be persistent and fight through it. You have to go to the top. And I've been successful. I've even gone to the top of Bank of America, Ken Lewis. And he and I had a relationship. He was the CEO of Bank of America. And when I didn't like something, I would tell him. He always asked me for input. So you need to go to CEOs. So what do you do in the child protection system? You end up first trying to go to a manager or a supervisor. They don't work. Then you go to the director. They don't work. Then you go to the state and file grievances. If that doesn't work, then you're going to go to Washington, D.C. and file grievances there. There's the department oversees social services. That's the department you work with. There's the department oversees Indian Affairs. The Bureau of Indian Affairs is the department. So Suzanne should contact the Bureau of Indian Affairs. The rest of you should contact the agency. I think it's called the Home and Human Resources, or Human Resources, whatever it is for social services. But that is so corrupt and so fouled up. They're giving aid to people that don't deserve aid. I don't know how they complain against the policeman. The ombudsperson is somebody at the state level that you can try. Anyway, the ICWA thing was a disappointment. And so Suzanne's going to contact the Bureau of Indian Affairs and try to resolve that. Now I have my rules, and we have nobody that wants to talk. I have my phone number up for already 42 minutes, and no one's called in. It's at 626-698-0990. And I've had very little comments. I've had Christina and Rose, Faye, and Rose Marine. I think she's from Arizona. Christina's New Mexico. Faye's is Kentucky. But in my rules, these are 4 rules that I overlooked when I was doing my case, and I regret that I did not do them. The first rule, the most important rule, is you have an attorney. And I mentioned about a court-appointed attorney. That you can do a court-appointed attorney. I'm not against the idea of you doing one, because I know the money is a problem, or being pro se, do it on your own. But you have to understand, when you do something pro se in a court of law, you're going to have to know the law inside out. And it's very complex because there are attorneys trained in social service that'll eat you alive. Same thing with a court-appointed attorney. They're lazy, they don't fight for you, and they have worked there. So I'm recommending that you talk to the attorney that produces this podcast. His name is Vincent W. Davis. He's a very likable man. He's been fighting CPS for 35 years. He is a juvenile family dependency lawyer, and he has lots of experience. He's a trial attorney, and he has fought CPS. In fact, he's done civil suits and won both in the state and the federal courts millions of dollars. So he's not afraid to fight the system. And but he's offering right now consultation for 30 minutes for $60. That's consultation for 30 minutes for $60. And he'll talk to you about your case and how to navigate from navigate through CPS and how to get your kids back. All you have to do is call this number, 888-888-6582. That's 888-888-6582. It's right next to my number. It's in white and uh, it's supposed to be yellow and orange, but now it's red and white, it looks like. Okay. And you call that number, and when you call in, you just say, Bob Pace sent me. And when you say, Bob Pace sent me, then they should help you. And if they don't, you get back to me. You tell me right away. Also, when you speak to Mr. Davis, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And when you talk to him, make sure you tell them because he wants to make sure that I'm offering out there. Christina Renzo now says the Administration for Children and Families in Washington, D.C. There's an address of 370 El Lafont, Palmolay, Southwest Washington, D.C. I'm going to put that up there. It may block my phone number and Vincent's phone number, but that's an important address if you want to write a complaint and work with your children. The only way you can succeed is, besides getting an attorney, is to keep fighting yourself. So that rule number one is if you like him and ask him about his retainer, he's reasonable. He has to charge more when he goes out of state because he's got his transportation and his housing costs because he lives in Southern California, works in Southern California, but he'll go Northern California or one of the other 50 states, including Washington, D.C. Um, so just call in. And also, I have another thing, too. Um, I probably pronounce lay infant, infant. I think there's an asterisk before that. I don't know. Um, there's a little ticket going across the bottom of my box there, and that's the website. Um, hold on a second. If you want to go on the website to see Vincent W. Davis's calendar, you go to https :// Candely, CALENDLY.com / apps, APPTS, Vince VWD / Bob Pace. That's at the bottom of my screen. You should see that. Let me make sure it's there. So that's https :// Candely.com / appoint APPTS VWD / Bob Pace. And that'll get you the website for his calendar, and you can schedule a time to see him. But you have nothing to lose. It's just $60 for 30 minutes. Well worth spent the money there. It'll help you immensely. You need to get some legal help here because you're dealing with an entity that you don't have any control over. You don't have any control over this entity. No control. And I'm sorry to say that. Now, rule number 2 is your paperwork. I found that I did a very lousy job of keeping track of everything. When I talked to people or I wrote down notes, it was always on envelopes, scratches of paper, post-it notes. They're small. It was a big mess. What you need to do is you need to organize it into a notebook. And you want to get a notebook 8.5 by 11. And it's a 3-ring notebook about 3 to 6 inches thick. And you want to get some subject tabs and put them in there. So you can organize all your stuff by different subject matters. Like one would be incidents. Let's say you met with the social worker and you talked about certain things or you did a phone call. You want to give the date and time and the location. Was it at their office? Was it on the phone? And then you want to say who is involved. Your children, you, the social worker, the police, whatever. And then you want to write a description of what the incident was. A one-liner is fine. And then write a second line, the outcome. The outcome may be still going on, so you write it in later. But that's how you should do your incidents. And then skip a couple lines to the next incident. Skip a couple lines to the next incident. And organize it so that you know your incident. Because in 6 months, a year, 2 years, you won't remember it. So that's one aspect of the notebook. Also, other subjects could be your parenting classes. You can stick all your certifications and have a log on the front of all your parenting classes. Then you can do the same thing with programs like anger management, domestic violence. The programs you take, you put those certificates and you put a log there, and you have a separate tab for that. Then you have a tab for info, like phone numbers and websites you found about CPS. That's where that could be, and you can have that on pieces of paper in the subject called the info. And then you can have your court cases, subject called court cases, and you put all the court cases and hole punch them and put them there so you keep track of them, arrange them by date, put a log in there too. Then you can come up with other things. I know you can. And you'll find this notebook very helpful. You may end up have to do a two or a third one depending on how long your case is. Um, hmm. Oh, also in rule number two, you want to use highlighters to highlight things because you may want to reference them later, like using yellow and pink are good highlighters to do. But review your notes and write additional notes. And as I say, I know a computer would work, I know a phone will work, a day runner will work, but I find that it's too small of spaces. A computer is great. You can search for things, but it's not. It only shows, and if you're on a laptop, it doesn't show very much. So I think the hard copy is a better way to go. Also, you can take out a page and make a copy. If they say you don't have your certificate for your parents, you just open it up and make copies. You can't do that with a computer. Yes, you can scan them to your computer and then you can print them from your computer, but it involves multiple times. I know that, it is like that. So that's rule number two. Now, rule number three is a real important rule. And I know all my rules are really important, but anyway, before I talk about rule three, Christina had given us an address for the Administration for Children and Families in Washington, D.C. And now she's given a red heart. That's good. That's good. I appreciate all your kindness, you people. You guys are such loving people. I hear so much anger out in this world. It's nice to deal in a room that's full of nice people. I mean, I appreciate you showing respect in this room and not being disrespectful. I've had some disrespectful people in this room, and it hurts. They want to do it. They want to hurt you. They want to upset you because they're angry. Things are not going right. But rule number three is something about opening a door. Lately, we've had two people, and probably more. I don't have all the people that have been murdered, not killed, murdered. What I mean by that is that we recently had a black lady who was in her kitchen doing her dishes, as the video was showing, and this policeman, buffed out policeman, was trying to be errant and wasn't defusing the situation, and he shot her 5 times in the face. And his partner said, "Do you want me to get a medical kit?" And he said, very guttually, that, "Oh, she deserves to die." Now, I don't understand the policeman mentality of thinking. First of all, they're trained to use a weapon, a gun, and they know how to shoot it. But why do they have to shoot it all the time and kill somebody? Why is the whole cycle about killing? Why can't they shoot him in the foot if they have to? They're in danger. But he wasn't endangered. She didn't have a weapon. He was worried that she was going to throw hot water at him. All he has to do is step back. He's buffed out. He could probably run out of that apartment in no time. But that's one example. Another example was a guy named Roger. He's an airman in the United States Air Force. A young kid, 23 years old, started out life as a veteran of our country, defending our country for freedom. and he was in his own apartment, a nice upscale apartment, locked and everything. And the police burst in and fired 5 shots at him, mistaken identity. But he's dead. He was on FaceTime with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend saw him die on the video. And that was out of Gainesville, Florida. The sheriff department of Gainesville, Florida, um, shot the man dead, all because he opened the door. And that's why I want to talk about opening the door. Is that you don't want to open the door because you're going to be shot dead. Also, you don't need to open it to police or child protection. There's only 3 ways they can come into your place. One is that you give them permission. You say, yes, you can come in, officer. Okay, that's one way. You don't want to do that, by the way. You don't want to answer the door, by the way. The second way, if there's domestic violence going on, such as shouting, yelling at each other, there's physical operations happening. Somebody has a weapon, a gun, a knife, trying to hurt you or a child or something in there, an elderly person, a senior person. They can step in if that is going on. That's the second way. The third way is they need a warrant. What a warrant is, it's an order by a judge that the agency has asked that states that and they should also address who it's going to, the husband, wife's name, or the wife's name, whereas the children's name should be listed, the allegations should be listed. And on top of that, it gives the date and time they can come in for the investigation. And then the other thing is what they can ask, what they can do, what they can do. Can they take your child? Can they talk to you? Because you should not talk to social workers or police, because you say something that will use against you. So that's why I say don't answer the door. Hide in the closet. Don't answer the door. And if you're outside, an easy way to get out of that predicament is say, I need to speak to my attorney before we go any further. I need a timeout. I'll get back to you. What is your name? What is your badge number? And I'll get back to you. You got to ask for a badge number because they lie. They lie with their ages there. So um, I'm telling you, it's dangerous being around the front door. So if they're out there, they'll show you the warrant. If you're outside, you can read it and verify it. And also, there's an emboss raised on the paper where they do the stamp, and it has a wet signature from the judge. But you should not open the door. There's no reason to, and you can end up being like that poor girl or that poor boy that were killed for something that they should never have been. That should never have been. And by the way, that first policeman that shot the girl in the face, he was arrested that night. He was fired from his job and arrested that night. The other sheriff took a week before he was dismissed and never did file criminal charges against him, which I think is wrong. I think when you take a life of somebody, it was not self-defense. Very rarely. I know that policemen are shot at. I know that they're killed all the time, but it doesn't give you a right as a policeman to kill other people needlessly. I mean, in defense of the guy, Roger, the airman, he had a gun in his hand because the policeman had banged the door a bunch of times, said nothing. So he came to the door thinking it was a bad guy. He had a right to register. His gun was pointed straight down. It wasn't pointing the officer. Before he could say a word, the officer fired 5 times. Bang, 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 bang. It's these automatic weapons. This overkill. I mean, you look at a guy using an SR-15 and try to shoot the president. Ends up killing a fireman, a first responder. What sad is that? The thing about guns is ridiculous. We have a really easy gun law. You can get your dad to get you an AR-15. Are they persecuting that father like they did the 3 boys in high school that their parents were sent to jail? No, they probably won't. They won't persecute the father, The son's dead because right away an expert sniper shot him. I mean, but where was the why weren't they looking for snipers earlier? There's a lot of windows there. I mean, I don't know. This election thing is kind of a joke here. They tried to impeach him twice while he's in office. Then they decide a bunch of trials and convict them of something that is stupid, and it's all wrong courts, everything there. It's going to be overturned. And then on top of that, they shoot him. I mean, what else are going to do to the guy? Now they got. Anyway, I'm getting into politics, guys. Stay away from politics. It's hard not to, but it does have something with CPS because if whoever is in office, I think I have a better chance to change the CPS with Trump. I'll go to President Trump. I'll say, look, you're my president. I want you to change CPS, and these are the following reasons. And I'll take all my people there. I'll tell them about my story, about my child, about all the troubles I've had. They should correct the system. It is corrupt. It's broken. All they're doing is because of money. Faye the other day says it's trillions of dollars that are marketed by CPS. I said $80 billion a year, but now it's in the trillions. It's so sad. It doesn't stop. It's a money making thing. Well, my time's up. It's 1 minute, and I've gone over 1 minute. I apologize. I got really going on here. I want to thank Christina for calling and sharing me her story. She's from New Mexico. I want to thank Faye for her help, and she's from Richmond, Kentucky. And then I want to thank Rosemarie Lombardo. I think she's from Arizona. And I'm so happy your kids are coming back. Please keep fighting for your kids. Do not stop, and don't give up. God bless y'all. I'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock. It's Bob